Good afternoon. You used to say that. Good evening. Welcome.
That was Boris Karloff.
No, that was, I'm thinking about old good evening. Old
Okay.
Alfred Hitchcock
Well,
presents.
That's what. Ain't that what I said?
No, you said Boris Karloff.
No, I meant Alfred Hitchcock. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, that's what I meant to say. See, what you say and what you mean to say is two.
I've noticed that about a lot of things.
Yeah, I've seen that in a lot of people.
You realize the county commission is going to raise our taxes?
That's what I'm hearing.
Do you realize that they're going to raise them about 25%?
That's what I'm hearing too.
Do you realize that out of all that stuff they've spending money on, they couldn't cut $1, not one damn dollar out of anything? $1, not $1. That'd be less than 20 cents a head for the county commissioners.
They can leave one shovel of sand off that truck and be $1.
Yeah. They poured $30,000 worth of sand in the lake, but they can't save $1 anywhere. I don't know what you think, but I think we're getting the short end of the long screw.
Well, what I ask myself a lot of times is, starting all the way out there with our debt limit and what the country's in debt, and you bring it all the way back down here to the county, there's got to be a point somewhere that either we turn it over and say, you can have it, and it's already happening in a lot of pieces of property here that people won't even bid on when the court sells it. They won't even bid $1 on it. The property, it's probably worth more than $1, but it's not. You cannot make enough profit off the property to pay the taxes. So, if this continues, somewhere this thing's going to turn. This is going to be gone. It's upside down, or already is to a certain extent.
People who work are fools. I was over there in line today. I had a roll bologna and our little roll about that big, you know.
You can go on in big ones anymore, huh?
No, and some 99-cent weenies, and I was over at Save-A-Lot waiting in line, and there was a couple in front of me with two young'uns, and you know, they had a cart full of food, and they was getting it down, you know, using all of their food stamps, and getting it down, and they just set a few things back. Of course, now they set back 3 items that's supposed to be refrigerated. I didn't see them take them back to the cooler. They just set them up there off the thing, let somebody else take them back. They couldn't be bothered with that. And I'm glad them young'uns are going to have some food to eat this evening. I ain't got no problem with that, except that I bet there was 10 or 12 tattoos on these two people that I could see between the man and the woman. And during the course of their negotiating how to best spend their money, and then he ended up having to come up with a little cash too. He had a roll of cash. He didn't look big, but he had more money than I had. And they negotiated the end of it, and he ended up paying a little money at the end. But in the process of doing all this, they had to stop and talk on their cell phone. They got a call, and I'm there thinking, here I am, my roll of bologna that I'm going to pay for. I've never got a free handout in my life. And these people were both young. They had had two young'uns they couldn't afford. They come from somewhere. They didn't pick them up off the street and take them home and start raising them. So they planned ahead. They had two young'uns that they couldn't afford. They couldn't feed themselves. And the guy looked like he's about 30 years old and looked to be in excellent health. I mean, that's deceptive sometimes. I may be wrong. But I bet you either one of them is in better shape than a 65-year-old me. So as soon as they get out of the store, they're out there. I think they may have been waiting on a ride. I'm not sure exactly what was going on, but they're both out there smoking their cigarettes and trying to keep the young'uns corralled. And cigarettes, I mean, I don't feel bad helping feed them young'uns because they didn't ask to be here. I think they ought to shoot mommy and daddy for having them. And what aggravates me is I think that if you're going to have kids, you ought to at least spend your money on them before you start taking our money to feed them. And they can't buy cigarettes for food stamps. I don't know why. I'm sure they'll fix it. It's just an oversight. And they can't. The phone may have been free. I don't know about that. But them tattoos, I don't know anybody takes food stamps for tattoos either. So obviously their pleasure items are more important than feeding their young'uns, because the last thing they thought of was feeding their young'uns. I'm happy to pay for that. I'm just fed up. I think a fella ought to get where he could get every penny he can off of them and not pay not one penny tax if he can get by without it. Ain't nothing. It don't pay to. The only kind of property you ought to own, the only kind of government is interested in protecting, is intellectual property. If you make a movie or a song or a book or something like that, or a picture, the people that don't believe that you ought to own the first piece of property will be out there helping protect your property rights. And there's no property tax on intellectual property. So we're keeping them low lifes up so they can do everything they can to knock us in the head. That's all I've got to say about that now.
Well, whatever you think that you possess is the means by which government can manipulate you. That's the hold they have on you. I've spent the day, I had to have some outpatient surgery. I had to have a tooth removed or whatever, and that's...
You know, I could have saved you some money on that.
Yeah, you could have probably knocked that out of there if I just opened my mouth in the wrong place, but I never have had one bother me. This one has. But anyhow...
You're lucky.
Well, then I went to get my... While I'm out there, I'm going to get my DOT physical. And I got half of it. I got part of it done. I have to go in 2 different stages or whatever. That physical, just the exam, is $75 just to get your... And I thought that I probably was getting a discount at that. It's probably because I've been there so many times. And then I have to have a physical every 6 months to maintain certain other things that has to do with the driving of hazardous materials.
What you need to do is quit hauling in hazardous material.
The thoughts crossing my mind. I'm come to the point that where there may be a lot of other people, undoubtedly they feel the same way. I feel it's like our elected officials undoubtedly don't give a rat's behind about what we're doing to the next generation or the next 2 generations. They couldn't care less.
That's right.
And to leave this country as deep in debt as we will leave, we'll never see this thing paid. And neither will our children or our grandchildren. And
somebody's going to lose out. Somebody's going to default on payment sooner or later. That makes us all deadbeats, and in my book, that's right up there. Deadbeat and stealing is right up there with murder.
The working people out here that's trying to pay the bills, not the deadbeats.
No. But we're the ones going to be responsible for what they've wasted.
Well, our children's the ones going to be responsible.
Well, yeah.
It's us.
Well, we're responsible for it now. We just ain't going to pay it.
We just ain't going to pay it. That's all it's to it. We can't. And I heard this morning, I reckon Puerto Rico, they defaulted, didn't they, on their debt?
Yeah, so that's somewhere.
That's what I heard. So, if our debt was called in, we'd have to default right now.
Oh, yeah.
And I'd say even Campbell County'd have to default if their debt was called in. Until well, been 1,000 things are crossing my mind.
Busy place.
Well, it's not good stuff. I saw where Obama signed and now I think it's going to be an executive order or whatever it is. It don't make no difference whether it's executive order or whether the Congress jumps on and passes or whatever, but he's going to drop the carbon footprint level from coal-fired power plants by 32% by the year 2020. I believe it's 20 or 31 to other, but anyhow, it don't make any difference. When burning coal is going to create a certain amount of carbon, and if they can drop it to a certain point to where it is impossible to burn it. To my sin, you can cut it to 0 carbon. You know how to do it?
Just quit making electricity.
Shut the things down. If I was responsible or had some more means that I was held accountable for generating electricity, I'd be getting the heck out of it. And if I owned coal, I'd be selling it to the Chinese in it underground, selling the rights to it.
Yeah.
Sell it to the Chinese. It's no different than what Hillary negotiated to sell 20% of the uranium in America to Russia companies, to a Russian company, which they ain't really.
Well, wait a minute. Chinese may not be stupid enough to buy something if we're going to regulate them out of getting out of the ground.
I got a feeling that the way they do it, America will have no control over it. As a matter of fact, they may force America to get it out of the ground for them. And
we're just joined by a new recruit. I know new old recruit.
Hello, Bob.
Well, it would be nice.
Yeah, it would.
But if you're out here traveling and looking, and you think about energy, we're going to somewhere along the line, we're going to run out because we consume it continuously. And when we say electricity is not actually energy. It's the product of energy being burnt. Electricity is the means by which energy is being put on a wire.
Well, I would.
Does electricity
by
produce,
definition, I'd argue with you, but I see your point.
Electricity does not produce energy. Electricity is the product.
Well, coal don't produce energy either.
Well, it produces heat.
Yeah, and electricity will produce heat.
Okay, but
that's just a different form of energy.
But electricity will not produce enough heat to form a perpetual motion.
No, and coal won't either.
Coal won't either. But when I look back at electricity, you go traveling across this country of a night and look at the lights. Right here, untold numbers of lights. Electricity is being generated. It's like right now, right here, you've got several lights here not on. There's plenty of saws up here next door.
I've got 1, 2, 3 duds, 4 duds here too.
Well, we've got blower motors and whatever down at the mix plant.
I've got 5 duds.
Okay, those blowers, usually that one down there is used once a day to unload a truck.
Mm-hmm.
And it takes an hour, just a little over an hour to unload a truck. For 23 hours of the day, that current is being produced and sitting right there. It's sitting there. It's not being used.
It depends on how many turbines they got in use. Okay.
Well,
you don't put it on. It's there on demand. You can't. It don't wait.
Well, what I'm saying is, the energy being consumed to produce it and set it there, that energy is being consumed.
Yep.
So, anyhow, it seems to me like the very most important thing right now would be a way to store that energy, to use every amp or watt or amp or whatever it's being produced, will be wattage, and being able to store it to where we can retrieve it economically. Tesla says they can do it. I haven't seen it done yet.
Well, there's a problem here. You know, you could, there was a movement in one of the state legislatures once upon a time to changed the value of pi.
Yeah.
It was just so unhandy at 3.141637 and on
On
forever.
to infinity.
So they just decided they're just going to change the value of pi to 3 even.
Right.
Okay, well if you could do that, you could also outlaw gravity.
That's
and
true.
people wouldn't fall and hurt themselves, and it'd be a whole lot easier to build stuff because you could buy you a sky hook. And, you know, I mean, you could outlaw gravity in some situations, but passing laws don't work.
Well,
We've got a president that is mandating certain fuel efficiencies of the gasoline engine, and he's knocking right up there around the theoretical limits.
that is correct.
Well,
There is a limit.
it's absolutely insanity. All right, it's what it is, because we are going to be raising the cost of our energy, okay?
Yeah.
But while we're reducing our carbon output, China is building, they're bringing a new coal-fired power station online every 10 days. That's 350 of them a year. Now,
No, it's 36.
We're sending,
36.
of them.
what?
36.
36 a year.
What, one every 10
Well, 10
days?
Yeah.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
all right. Well, yeah, one every, well, you got,
You got
3 a month, that's right, 3 a month, okay, 36 a year.
Yeah.
We are shipping all of our scrap metal, dismantling all of our manufacturing and sending it over there, and in the name of cutting back on carbon emissions, and they're emitting more over there than we would here if we kept our power stations.
Well, here's the thing. There is in physics, in thermodynamics, you have a proven law. It ain't something somebody passed. It's just one of the facts of nature, and it's proved that it's true. That you can only get so efficient. The most efficient you can get in a heat engine, and an internal combustion engine is considered to be a heat engine. You can only get a perfect engine can only get a certain efficiency, and you can determine that how efficient that's going to be if you know the ambient temperature, the temperature that it's operating in, and the temperature of the engine, the internal temperature of the engine, and you can figure out with a pencil and paper the maximum, absolute maximum efficiency that you can get with that engine. You cannot ever get more efficient than that. And you can't pass laws to find efficiencies that don't exist. And that's what we've got. We've got politicians that are going to change the value of pi and outlaw gravity and defeat the car no engine.
And do away with round wheels, ain't they?
Well, yeah, I differ with them all together. They say pi or square, I say pi or round.
I know it's always been.
Yeah.
Well,
But them there pizza pies you get down at Little Caesars is square, some of them.
Right.
when the president presented this, I reckon he cried. It sounded like he's trying to cry, because he wanted his grandchildren to be able to swim in the waters off of Hawaii, to keep the world, whatever, so they'd have air to breathe and swim in the.
We better talk to China rather than us.
But here's part of what they said. This is being handed down to the steam plants and whatever else, just like they hand it down to the automotive industry. They're setting the regulation. Why didn't he set it down? Excuse me. Why didn't he set it at raise the thing to 90%? Just put them to where what he's doing is he's killing the thing, but he's killing it little at the time. This is a pretty good lick. But like I say, why? Okay, here's what he did. He set the limit at 32%. It has to be dropped 32% using 2005 as the base number to start from. Okay? What then they said was the states have got to figure out how to do this themselves. They're not giving them any technology. They're not giving them anything saying, Here's the limit. You meet it. They, like I said, they could have said 45, they could have said 50, they could have said whatever it is, and you meet it.
Yeah.
All right? Here's what I don't understand. This country has, well, I know of about 3 national labs. I know they've got a whole lot more. Why does our national lab, like Oak Ridge down here, not sit down and figure out, say, here, we got a lump of coal. We can extract untold amounts of energy out of it, and with 0 carbon. Instead of sending it out here for states to do it, why don't these national labs figure this stuff out and show us how to do it? Show your steam plant, say, look
here. You
here.
can't figure out something that ain't figurable.
That's right, you cannot figure it out.
Too busy taking pictures of Pluto.
Well, I'll tell you what, I got
a picture of Pluto hugging my wife.
Yeah, okay. Boys, I read a good one the other
ain't
day.
no fool with that.
Yeah, but anyhow,
At Disney World.
they come up with a solution. They've got a pond down
You
at
ain't
Oak
got
Ridge.
one of her hugging Goofy, do you? Maybe a wedding picture or something?
Yeah.
Well, here's what I foresee the end result of this is going to be, and it's not going to happen tomorrow, but you give it time. There's the people that's on the bottom of the economy that cannot afford electricity. I'm talking about working people. I ain't talking about they'll come up with some way to give electricity to people who are in a situation that same as welfare or whatever. But here's what I'm saying. Electricity is going to get so expensive that the bottom rung of the people, let's say the bottom 25% of population, is not going to be able to afford it.
They won't have to worry about it because 50% of the population are getting some sort of support from the government anyway.
Well, here's what you'll be ending up doing. You'll end up turning every light off in the house but one. You'll do away with the TV. Of course, that'll be the last thing to go. You'll give up every other kind of an electrical device, and you may even give up light and whatever else because you can't afford it.
Right
and
now we've got.
Here's another thing I'm going to say. I'm going to say that the utilities, just like our local utility here, if enough people have to shut their electricity off, you know what I'm saying? We can't afford to pay for it. I'll guarantee you that somewhere out there that you will end up having to pay for the electricity, even though you don't have a meter or you're not hooked up to it. If it runs
they're gonna put a tax on everybody.
If that line,
you know what they're gonna do with it? That's to provide the electricity to public housing.
Well, if that line runs in front of your property, and if I ain't mistaken, in this here County Powers Act, I believe I read somewhere in it, one of the articles in it says that if the county comes by and mows their property in front of your property, that they can charge you for it.
Yeah.
If all they got to do is go in, it's already there. All they got to do is vote on it. And the same way with the utility line. If there's a power line,
what I'm gonna do when they do that to me? I'm gonna get out there and drive some rebar out through the ditch line. I may have to pay to get it mowed, but they'll have to work a lot harder to mow mine.
well, they'll end up on. Well, they own your property anyhow. They'll
Oh, I know
cancel your lease.
Yeah.
Is what they'll do.
Yeah.
But right now, in the city of La Follette, if the sewer line runs in front of your house and you don't use it, you do pay just
I
exactly.
pay $28 a month right here.
You pay just exactly the same whether you
I ain't
use
got
it.
water.
Just well,
I ain't got water, electricity, water or sewer, either one, and I still pay 14. I paid last month 28, 38, $42.
well, this is the same thing.
A month and don't use none.
Yeah.
This is the same thing with garbage pickup. You name it. Whenever you move into a city, you give away whatever few rights. Well, wait a minute. You don't give them away. They take whatever rights they please from you and charge you for that.
Sure.
It's well, if we go long enough, a lot of this stuff, there'll be trouble.
Well,
Is what I say. There'll be trouble.
So much of it is coming from the executive department of
Right.
our federal government, but I blame Congress they went ahead and funded every nickel that was asked for on Obamacare. They didn't cut none of it out. They funded every nickel that was asked for on all these other programs. Didn't cut none on the immigration, where he issued all these executive orders through the administration, through the executive. They funded every bit of that to implement what he ordered. And they could have done it. I know that they worked it around and say, well, the Republicans are shutting the government down, that, and the other, you know. But the hell, just like Donald Trump said the other day, said they were worried about the tone that I said something. And here we're being overrun from the South, being overrun in the Mideast. Everything is happening to us, and they're worrying about the tone of my voice. That's crazy.
The crazy part is they're doing our work for us and we're paying them. That's the crazy part.
Right.
Yeah, well,
True.
We're being forced to pay them. Where we're making a bad mistake, and I've seen this and I'm seeing it more and more and more, is whenever somebody calls somebody a Democrat or a Republican, that's a dividing. There is no such, there's the words, it's kind of like the word marriage. What it used to mean, Democrat and Republican used to have a meaning of a division between one ideology and another. I don't think that works anymore. I think you have a few individuals who could be classified as being conservative, which would indicate Republican. But I got a feeling that the largest percent of what we call Republicans and Democrats are neither one. I think that what they are is they're socialists.
Well, like I said on the last program I believe I was on, that all the Republicans are wanting to do is put everybody in a hat and shake it around until one will fall out that will not change anything when he gets in office.
Well, why not just put everybody else's name in there too? Why not put Hillary and all these others in that same hat?
You got to make sure somebody's going in there that is proven that they're going to play ball and not mess up the apple cart.
Well, there's that too. Should have to have certain requirements. I believe the county's requirements here, to a certain extent, used to be you had to be, what, a felon or something like that? Here in Campbell County, the requirements used to be that you had to be a felon or something.
You had to have a pretty good rap sheet to get elected, yeah.
So I think you still do.
I read did you read the letter that David Young put in the local newspaper?
Yeah, I read it, yeah.
God, I'll tell you what, I don't usually get a good life, but I ought to send him $10 for giving me a good life.
You read the
I
answer to it?
my butt off. Yeah, and I read that too. Of course, I already knew most of that stuff. But whenever he said something about the city would be getting sued, he didn't tell how many times he sued the city. He talked about corruption. He talked about all sorts of things right there. He did. I just got a good life out of it.
Well, how do you feel sorry for people who will vote for somebody who is a convicted felon and he won't tell the truth? How do you feel sorry for people that actually vote for him? I mean,
right,
you get what you deserve.
Right here in this city, I guarantee you that if he would run right now, he would probably get elected for whatever he wants to run for.
I'd say
most likely.
You take that bunch up there in City Hall now. They're sitting up there just as happy as punch. You know, they don't realize how many businesses have actually closed. You ever look down here at Food City? There are 3 big businesses right on the face of that building that don't have anybody in it. 3 big departments there. I don't know how many back in there don't have tenants, but even in the Food City part there are a lot of people no longer opening up their business. Then if you look up there where Save-A-Lot is, you've got 1, 2, 3, you've got 5 businesses in that shopping center that are no longer opening.
Well, I heard the county commission didn't vote to hire a recruiter. What if in order to be a recruiter?
Why ain't we using what we done got elected?
Oh yeah, but let me put it this way. Instead of hiring a recruiter, or let's put it this way, in order to be a recruiter, let's say that you must first have a business here and be hiring at least 25 people, and before you even qualify to be a recruiter.
Here's a guy I really like. He had something to say about what you just mentioned, Bob.
Yeah.
I ain't done. This
I took a ride to the pilot today, just driving around. I hadn't done that in a while because I really don't have any reason to go downtown. And the only time I go is to pay taxes, and that's it, because it's dead down there. And I know the numbers, but it never had really hit me as how many empty buildings there are in town, starting south or west, however you want to call it, and going all the way through. There's just a bunch of buildings empty. And I'm thinking about what was going on there in the late 60s, early 70s, up to the late 70s, when that place was growing so fast that Jacksonville and Florida were fighting over who was going to get to claim the new businesses. There was jobs, there was money, there was work, taxes were low, and everything was going great, big guns, and then somebody decided, we can't let this thing grow without some sort of supervision. We're going to have to plan this. So, and I don't know whether there was a planning commission back then. I don't think so. If there was, they didn't do anything. There was no zoning, no codes, and everybody was just moving along, doing just fine, and making new jobs and making money, and everybody was happy. Except the politicians, and they never realized that the best planning is done by the free market, funded by the people who are doing work. Their money, they lose, they don't do it again. So the wiser heads, being the politicians who are so good at nothing except being politicians and raising taxes, come up with all these committees and commissions and planning boards and whatnot, so that they could, take control of this here unplanned development. And they control it really well. It's going to hell well, and taxes are literally 10 times what they used to be. I guess that's the way it is. Politicians take over. I don't know why fools like me and you keep paying the bills. We do.
I come the other day.
What do you think?
Politicians are kind of like a wife. When times are good, they sit up there with their eyes closed. And it's kind of like a woman when she kisses you. She closes her eyes because she can't stand to see a man having a good time. And so politicians close their eyes during good times and come out with all these rules and regulations because they can't stand to see the people out in the community having a good time. And so they're just very much two peas in a pod that way.
The other day I was coming through town and didn't have much to do. I run upon one thing that kind of aggravated me. It was a police car that was driving the speed limit. Can you imagine what screws up traffic worse than anything? Is for a police officer to drive the speed limit. Now I was coming out of Knoxville a few minutes ago in one of them speed zones, and here I was running 70, and I saw a police car come up behind me. Well, I moved over far enough because he had the inside lane, and I could tell he was gaining. So I moved over to let him through. Well, when he went through, I gave him about 15 car lengths, and I fell back out, and followed. This is the type of thing that don't tie up traffic. And there's only a few times that I see this. Most of the time the police officers in here will travel, they'll usually travel 10 miles over the speed limit in order to keep traffic going. I know some idiot or lawyer, let me put it this, some lawyer attorney somewhere set the speed limit at 40 miles an hour through the city of La Follette. The reason they do that is that 40 mile an hour is to cover their rear ends whenever it's a pouring rain or snow's knee deep or a dozen other things that you ought to be able to control a vehicle at 40 mile an hour.
I don't know whether I agree or not. I think they said it partly because they want the most money from their traffic citations, and they got to make sure they got it where everybody will speed a little bit.
Well, the city is not as hard on citations as far as speeding.
No, I don't agree with that.
Where the city will get you is if you drive erratic. If you're not staying where you belong, tailgating is one thing that I don't blame them. They ought to burn them for tailgating. But most of the city officers, if they've not had a bad day, most of them will let you run anywhere from 10 to about 12 over. And that, of course, now when you start pushing that, you need to have a good reason. But most of them will let you run about that without you've got some other.
Right. It never dawned on them to put another road through this town.
Well, that's been suggested, but that's not going to happen either.
No, it's not. Nobody's ever pushed for it.
Well, it don't matter if they do push, you still ain't going to get it. The citizens
I
out
think
here.
they would. Every other town gets all these bypasses and bridges over lakes and bridges over railroad tracks and underpasses and everything else. If you holler enough, you're going to get some too.
You also get these here exits to nowhere.
You can get an interchange.
There's 25 million up there, didn't there?
You can get an interchange on the interstate if you're related to the transportation department, and the governor, and whatever else. But
you raised enough. I said before, the Republicans know they're going to get the vote up here, so they ain't going to have to do nothing for Campbell County. And the Democrats know they ain't going to get it, so there's no reason for them to do anything for Campbell County. So we don't get our fair share of the money that goes into the state.
Well,
I didn't give up on making any difference anyway. I don't care what happens.
It don't matter what we do. We can talk about it all we want to. We're not going to change it. All we're going to do is sit around and watch it happen.
I can't agree with that.
Okay.
It don't make no difference. You raised enough hell, you can get anything done.
I'll tell you what. You let the citizens, just the general public, go out here, and if there's not some threats put into it, which they'll arrest you if you threaten somebody, you take down to the county commission. Whenever the guy that got us the $2 million worth of useless what the heck? You know what I'm talking about, photo cells.
Right.
Solar
panels. That guy, whenever he come out of the courthouse, if it had been about 10 people there, and I ain't advocating it, but what you're talking about, if there's about 10 of them right there, and they done a number on him, and then went back and took the who was the mayor out there, and the vice mayor, and a few of the others, and I mean to tell you, tuned them in within an inch of their life. Of course, everybody would get arrested. It's not accepted. In this society we live in, it's not accepted. I can't even do that right there, Bob. See, you could charge me right there for assault. Yeah.
Right.
Well, let me tell you, Bob, you say you can make a difference. You can make a difference if you can get a crowd up. But let me tell you a story. Several years ago, they was putting in a new bridge up at Williamsburg, Kentucky. And they had one lane of the bridge closed, and it started out about halfway across. And I was getting ready to come across the bridge, and I wait till everybody comes on that side, and then I take off out through there on my two-lane part of the bridge, and there's cars behind me. And I was driving a pickup truck, and I got right out there ready to get over on the single lane, and some bastard pulled out down yonder, just hurried right up through there and cut me off right there. I was on the bridge first, and he cut me off, and I just stopped in the road, and there's a whole line of traffic behind me, and I just decided to hair-lip the devil. I wasn't going nowhere, so I just cut the engine off and reached behind my seat and got my jack handle out and laid over in the seat, and I'm waiting there. And we waited there probably 5-10 minutes. and there's traffic just backing up back through there and wondering what's going on. And I'm thinking, boy, you know, we'll show them I'm right. So I sat there, and finally that guy give up. And all he had to do was just pull over and let me out. And he pulled over and let me out. And I looked back, you know, all them people behind me that I'd been holding the fort for, looked back, and I was the only one on the bridge. Every one of them would give up and gone somewhere else. Right. And that's exactly what happens to you. When you get out there and stand up for something,
I understand.
you look behind you, there ain't nobody on the bridge but you.
They say, I'm going to be behind you like about 2 miles behind you, you know.
Yeah, and that's what you get into.
They said when they beat you back and blue on one side, we'll come up and turn you around so they beat you on the other side.
You'll find
I understand that.
You're the only one on the bridge, and I'm tired of fighting them battles.
Right.
The society says you cannot fight a battle or a situation in such a manner. You can't deal with it. You've got to go down and get you a committee or something else. And you take the rules. You take you look and see what the county commission look at the insurance.
You know we're missing Donald Trump. He's on at 5 o'clock.
Well, there'll be plenty of tapes of it.
I'm running the tape on it. Yeah.
Well, there'll be plenty of tapes on it.
Right.
But the here's what we've allowed to happen. This goes from the government right down here to the county commission, and it didn't happen yesterday. But you go back years and years and years back. What we've allowed the county commission to vote itself a raise. Anytime it wants more money, anytime it wants more insurance. You name it. Anytime the county commission wants something, here's what they'll do. Let's say it's a year from election, or it's 6 months from election. They're going to vote in that we're going to give a raise to the county commission. But we can't take it. It's got to be the next one. All right, the half of them know they're going to get reelected.
Right.
So they make them a raise. Now, what can the general public out here? We can vote them out, maybe, which we can't. You stop and think about it. How do you vote some of this stuff out? I've seen it happen. I've seen a few get voted out, but not much.
Saturday we have 2 new commissioners. We probably got some more too that have become nothing but yes men in this county commission.
Let me show you something that's in the paper.
That happens a lot. That happens a lot.
Yeah.
There's an article in the paper concerning this tax increase, and I've known Weldon for a long time, and I believe he's the one that made this statement. He says, if you'll come the next election now, if you'll vote this sales tax in, we may be able to back this up some. Now, you know what word may means? That's a weasel word if there ever was one. But I'm going to tell you, when that sales tax goes in, hell will freeze over before any of that tax gets backed up. It ain't going to happen. It just ain't going to happen.
Well, like I say, Weldon and Higginbottom, that's the 2 new ones I was thinking about. They have become nothing but yes men. Whatever the county wants, the county gets their vote.
Well, the county, like I say, it'd be kind of like, what did you say about 5 lions and 1 sheep voting on who's going to be for dinner, or what they're going to have for dinner? That's about what it boils down to. And they're voting on who they're going to have for dinner. It's what they're doing. Now, if this thing is going to be changed, first of all, you're going to have to get rid of all the, in other words, you're going to have to make it to where the people who run for office want to be in that position, not due to the fact of the financial gain or whatever they get out of it.
How you going to do that?
You can't. I'll bet you in the bylaws and the rules, and if you'll go back to the County Powers Act and all this other crap, it's so tied up that there's no way under the sun that you can change these rules. I mean, you can go down and talk till you turn blue in the face.
Well, yeah,
and it ain't going to change.
All you got to do is have David Young and them, they do it. They change the rules all the time.
David Young, in that letter, he used the word dictator. Do you remember the night you wanted to speak down there and he beat on the desk and said, look here, I got my rights back. I got a voter's card.
All right.
And I reckon but it was going to have you thrown out, wasn't it? Throw it out of the courthouse.
Yeah.
And there wasn't even a meeting going on.
Right.
Now, what is a dictator anyhow? He used that word there, I believe.
Right.
Now this goes to show you, and everybody forgets. I don't care what it is. They
But
certain
see, that
people.
voter's card didn't mean nothing. You got to have the right to hold office restored.
That's right. He
and,
knew it.
And what he was convicted of, it had to be restored by the court that convicted him,
Yeah,
which was a federal court.
But he still got the local judge to turn the thing around.
Right.
It's still illegal, but who
Right.
gives a rat's behind
Right.
anyhow?
Well, you got the district attorney also.
Well, the district attorney we had at that time, I was there the day that he said it. And I went before the judge to explain this, that any of his neighbors could stand up and object to him getting his full
Right.
citizenship. Well, when it come up for the final hearing, I didn't get called up. They didn't call me up for nothing. All they did was call, what was his name, Paul Phillips. They called him and David Young, and they asked the preliminary whatever, and Phillips says, I don't find any prosecutable something, another actions or something. Dismissed. Now that's where injustice for all. I heard Gibson say the other night, everybody stands up and puts their hand over their heart and says, liberty and justice for all.
Yeah, but who's all?
Yeah, who's all? That's,
Why are you giving everybody liberty? Some people need to be locked up.
well, that's justice. Justice is another word we could probably go around with marriage and a few other things. We could get rid of the word. There's
Sort of what going
and
on.
another word I think we ought to just do away with is
Well,
truth.
I really think, since you had the black guy to kill the white police officer, you know what we need to do? We need to burn the whole section of the white city down.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, hey, did you hear the leader of the National Democratic Party, somebody asked her the question. You hear
About
that?
the
Different in socialism.
Yeah, could you give me the difference between socialism and the Democrat Party?
Yeah,
She could not answer it.
right. Because
She-
there was no difference.
There is no difference. And I think the Republican Party is a whole lot the same
The
way.
same thing.
There's no difference. There's no difference. We have probably already become a socialized country.
Well, yes.
We don't want to use the word, but, well, anyhow, like I say, I don't see no point in it.
There ain't no use,
ain't no use
fellas.
in
It's
it.
over.
Come this next election, I've seen a lot of people that have lost a lot of interest in it, and if they voted, let's be for the fun of it, or just.
Well, you're not going to have any choices. You're going to choose between John McCain and Barack Obama. I don't know that we ain't better off with Obama than we would have been with John McCain.
Well, Obama's talking. He's talking about a third run. He talked about it over in. It wasn't Uganda, was it? It was.
No.
That place over there. I thought he was running for president over there.
Kenya.
Too. Kenya. Yeah, I thought he was running for president from listening to him speak.
You need to go back Berlin Wall and make his speech there to whatever gates it is. What's that gate? Not the Bergen Wall. What is that gate? Well, it don't matter.
Anyhow, it's.
That's back when he was the greatest thing since. I mean, he was walking on water back then.
Yeah.
And some people think he still is.
Yeah. We need to go get our Obama phone. They tried every way in the world to get my wife's mother one of them. Every time you turn around, somebody's trying to get her an Obama phone. She wouldn't take it. But anyhow.
All right. What time we reading?
Well, we've got 11 minutes if we stay for the full hour, and we need to tell people about Vital Care and Digger Wilson and Randy.
What in the world can you say about Digger Wilson? I mean, I'll tell you something about his gas,
He got gas.
He's got gas along with propane. So you just have to go down to Sawmill Holler where the road divides there, and just get your tank out, let him fill it up, and he will fill it up, whether it be a 20, a 30, a 50, or a 100-pound tank. He's going to put what's supposed to be in there. And you can reach him at 562-5455. 544, if you want to call him.
I thought it was 5444.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, 562-5444. He's there from 8 in the morning from Tuesday through Friday, and from 8 in the morning till 12 on Saturday.
562-5444. Right in the middle of the road, South Mill Holler.
And you know, I don't know what's going on here. I came up the 4-lane a while ago, and incidentally I threw a recap off over in Raccoon Valley. That's the reason I was late. If you ever change tires on a ton and a half truck, you know, you got a little bit of a problem. I threw a recap off, and but I got here half a show. But you know, coming up the 4-lane, I did not see a single policeman from exit 134 until I got here.
That's all up yonder investigating what them fire trucks went to earlier.
Is that what they're doing?
Yep.
Yeah. But now, you can watch out sometimes. You will see vital care medical transport coming down the road. Most of the times they will not have their siren on because they are transporting patients to another medical facility, and they don't need to go screaming down the road. But if they need to get in a hurry, they can do that, and they have the only unit in Campbell County or perhaps surrounding areas that has a mobile ventilator in it. So if you need to be ventilated with something other than a 38 caliber a pistol, you need to be properly ventilated, you call Vital Care, 562-9370.
562-9370?
That's Vital Care, medical transport.
You gonna call the county mayor's office and order auto parts?
562-2526. But if you want to call for auto parts, you need to call 562-2529.
Yeah.
That's Napa Auto Parts.
That stands for something, and we don't remember what it stands for.
Right across, we'll know next Saturday, right across from IGA on the 4-lane. Got the best prices. In fact, when I had that wheel off on that motorhome, I had a cracked
drum.
Huh?
Brake drum?
Rotor.
Cracked
rotor.
Okay.
So I put it back on there and just carefully drove up the road with it. All it's going to do is make some racket. So you go to Napa Auto Parts, good prices, good service. It'll get you what you need.
And whether you know it or not, they do.
Right.
562-2529.
Well, gentlemen, there's one other thing that I heard, and I haven't verified this, but I heard today on the radio that Hillary Clinton has, part of her platform, or her pitch to be president is, she wants to, what is it, when they take something out of the Constitution? Void, rescind, reject, repeal. Hillary wants to repeal the Bill of Rights. Now that's what, I haven't verified it yet, but that's what I'm hearing. And they went out on the street, somebody did, to do one of these straw polls, and I don't put too much store by them because you can pick out your people. But they interviewed several of the ladies, and I couldn't see, but anyhow, several ladies. There wasn't a single lady that they interviewed that disagreed with repealing the Bill of Rights.
That's because Hillary wanted it.
That's what they said. If Hillary says it, and I couldn't believe, the question I would like to have asked them people is, do they know what the Bill of Rights is? And I didn't hear that question asked, and they asked one man, and he said he only wanted to repeal about a third of it, or whatever, or 2/3 of it, leave a third or something. But this is where we're going. If we can repeal, if this will get her votes, repealing the Bill of Rights, this shows you where the state of this country is.
She can't do it. It takes a 2/3 vote of the Congress.
That's not.
2/3 or so many states have to vote for it.
Well, whether they can or they can't, it's just the fact that who would be stupid enough to agree to it, and if you actually brought it up. That's
all the cell phone services down in this town
that
right now
is
for some reason.
that is correct. I tried
Yeah,
to
mine
call
is
you.
too.
Yeah.
Mine was down on the web. Here's the reason I didn't call you.
Is that all
Yeah.
services or just via
Well,
Verizon?
I don't know. Well, we've got.
It says here all cell towers on the fritz around the area.
Wonder how that happened.
I bet it's a communist plot.
I'll bet it is. I bet somebody probably went up there and stuck one of them Confederate flags on one of them.
Had to mow it
They
down.
mow them all down. Anyhow, yeah. But this is interesting. If we've got a candidate proposing that this be done, and then you've got that many people who are agreeing to it or supporting it, that's the basis this country is built on. And anyhow, it'd be interesting how do you reckon this could, I wonder what this, it's unusual that all would be down, isn't it? If one cell tower is down, the way this system is set up, the next closest one carries the load. It switches off, and that's good.
Here's a guy put in a $500 application fee with the city to get a beer permit, and they turned him down. And they're only supposed to charge him $250, and he can't even get a difference refunded to him.
Is that right?
Well, 150, give him 150 back.
No, he paid double, and they turned him down, and he can't get none of it back. That's low down, ain't it?
No, there's nothing wrong with that.
The application fee of $500 is non-refundable.
Well, now
But
what?
it says in the city of LaFollette, the application fee for a beer permit is listed at $250. And
Okay. Well, why would it be non-refundable?
well, the $250 was non-refundable. I mean, that's you apply and they turn you down, you don't get it back.
Why?
Well, that's just the way it is. It's the way it's always been. But they charged him $500 and won't give him a difference back either. They overcharged him and won't even give him that back.
That kind of sounds like what the utility done.
And let me tell you something. There's 4 councilmen up there, and only Thompson voted to give his money back. The other 3 voted to steal it off of him. And I bet you it's been a tie vote. The mayor voted to steal it off of him too.
Oh man!
You know what the Peter principle is, don't you, Bob?
What?
The Peter principle.
Oh, yeah.
That's when you take somebody.
It works, too.
That's when you take a garbage collector and promote him to mayor. You just got a
Right.
an
He's
idiot.
reached his own level of incompetence.
Yeah, that's right, and you also make a fool out of him. Poor feller, he can't help it. He don't know no better.
Well, we've got a lot of them on that council meeting that would fit under that definition.
I reckon we do, and we got to go. We've insulted enough
We'll
people.
see ya.
Happy
Did you ever
trails,
say
folks.
why the cell phones were down?
No, I don't know that part. I'm just your news source, not your repairman.